Hey everybody, my name is Chris Jacobs and I'm the customer success lead here at Katana. I want to thank you for stumbling upon this video, and over the course of this video we intend to kind of do a full overview of Katana's core features and functionality. In addition to that, we'll cover the bases a little bit on how best to get set up and get started with the software so that your team can easily adopt Katana as a tool for your manufacturing company. A little bit of background about us before we go into it. Katana as a platform is what we call a smart workshop software. We're aimed towards small manufacturers that are direct to consumer or make to order or make to stock businesses. We also work directly with medium manufacturers that are too small for comprehensive ERP systems. So if you find yourself fitting that description, you might be a good fit for us. Also, we aim to solve major struggles that come with scaling, such as raw material stockouts, companies that are using spreadsheets but are finding the limitations of their scalability to be a hindrance to the progress of their business, businesses that are expanding a product portfolio and really need comprehensive bill of materials to manage their raw material inventories, and also businesses that are scaling so fast that you can't meet your sales order deadlines. This is essentially where we try to fit in as a software. So to kind of get started, I'm going to start right here on our Katana screen as if it is the first time you have ever seen it. When you get logged in, you're going to see a lot of information in front of you, and this is the very first page you will visit when you get into the platform, which is actually the sales screen, and the sales screen is a list of all your sales orders. We have built Katana as a platform that takes all of your sales, manufacturing, purchasing, and inventory and then unified it into a single dashboard. So that's why you see a lot of information here along with these wide variety of different colored blocks that mean different statuses and such. So we'll touch base a little bit further on that as we go along. You'll also see here at the bottom left, when you first sign up for a trial on our website, katanamrp.com, you could just sign up there for a free trial, 14 days, no credit card commitment, you're good to go. We do this getting started guide to really help you ease the onboarding process. You can watch tutorial videos, connect your e-commerce, connect your accounting, add your products and materials, create recipes, create production operations, invite your team members, and then of course our end goal is to get you making and selling through Katana more efficiently. If you need some help as well, chat box down in the lower right, I or one of my awesome colleagues will be able to help you more efficiently. If you need to get access to the knowledge base, really cool technical stuff here that you would probably learn in college in a business class. You can get all of that info here if you really want, for the different segments and parts and the technical areas inside of Katana. So we're trying to really keep all of that information available to you at short reach, so you can get access to it anytime. So a bit further into it, I think the best place to start is the settings page. The settings page is essentially the core foundation of everything related to your factory on a digital platform such as Katana. First thing you'll define is your currency. Your currency is mostly, what is your business currency? Is your business currency a US dollars? Is it something else? Whatever it may be, this is where you define it. Units of measure. As a company that's tracking inventory, different products and materials, we have units of measure here for every product and material you add to the system. You can define what unit of measure it is tracked in from its inventory side. If you don't see it here from the default list, you can add a new type. You can put packs, you can put pounds, you can put gallons, you can put inches, put yards, whatever you want, you can put there. Tax rates. Every time you generate a sales order, you're going to apply tax to it most of the time. And when you apply a tax rate to that sales order, you can define multiple tax rates. Some countries, for example, like India, might have 20 tax rates, and for every sales order you process, you apply a different rate. You can define that inside of Katana and then also apply that tax rate directly to your sales orders. Categories. Inside of Katana, for products and materials, you can define different classifications for those items. In this case, we call it categories. For example, tables are tables, components are components, chairs are chairs. A lot of customers use the categories feature to help organize their items, so that way when you're going through your stock page or your items list, you can filter it out by category. Some might use it for collections, so you could filter items out by collections. Very handy, especially for businesses that have 100 plus products or 100 plus materials. Operations list. This operations list are your standard operations. We keep it very simple: cutting, gluing, packaging, assembly. You can add them here if you want. You can also add them onto the product card when you're defining your bill of materials. Operations basically are the operation required to perform work that make a product in manufacturing. Resources in Katana are generally a person, or perhaps a workstation, or maybe even a specific tool or machine that performs an operation. The way this works is essentially you can assign an operation to a dedicated resource for every manufacturing order that you push through Katana's platform. And you can save those here. You can add all of your employees or whoever it may be. Locations. This is a big topic. We'll touch base a little bit more of it as we go through the stock section. But the locations here is where you can add all of the locations that you keep stock. Meaning, do you have raw materials or do you have product at a dedicated location? And for example, you might be the owner of that. So what I've already done here is I've added one location. I call it location 1. Katana comes with your main location, which allows you to sell products. So you fulfill a sales order from a location, or you make product to a location, or you buy materials from a supplier that get brought to a location. Currently, when you add another location, we can satisfy sales order fulfillment to or from that specific location. So for example, you can transfer product from your main warehouse to location 1, and then if you have a sales order, you can fulfill from location 1. And that's how that works. Again, we'll talk a little bit more details once we get to the stock section inside of here. Integrations. We support e-commerce integrations as well as accounting integrations. For e-commerce, we have Shopify and WooCommerce. I'll talk a little bit more details about that too as we move further along in the video, especially when we start discussing the information related to getting set up. And also for accounting, we have QuickBooks and Xero. Xero will be coming very soon over the course of 2019. Probably by the time that this video is live for 1 month, you'll see the Xero integration available here. And we also have data import. When you're setting up your business, if you do manage to keep your products and materials inside of spreadsheets, which is most likely the case, you can download our templates, put your products and your materials into those templates, and then upload it into our platform. That way you don't need to add each one of them individually from the product card and the material card. We have the ability to update existing products and materials in bulk. You could download your existing materials in the system, make your edits, and then upload it back into Katana. And also update stock levels and reorder points in bulk. So this allows you to essentially download a list of all of your products and materials in stock, plus the quantities. You can change the quantities and then import it back in, and it will update your inventory balances and also generate a stock adjustment for it, which will effectively be more like a variance report. So that is very handy for stock taking. You can also update reorder points, especially important for, let's say, products and materials. From a product perspective, you might need to generate reorder points for a dedicated period of time against a sales forecast that you have generated with your team. Reorder points on materials, sometimes those get updated. You might change a supplier on a material, and one guy might have a 4-week lead time and another guy might have an 8-week lead time. when you did the switch. And so you might have to increase or decrease your reorder points to manage your safety stock against your consumption rates. So that's another more complex topic that we might touch base a little bit further into the video. And then there's the clear data button. This allows you to wipe your account clean, because we recognize that the first time you use this, you might make mistakes. And that's totally normal as you begin to adopt a tool like this. You will delete everything before you start putting in your live data, especially on the first couple of weeks. So that's the settings page general overview. And to go a little further into Katana, here in the top right, you will be able to see your company name and username. And then you can invite your team members. So additional email addresses, you can go through here and then invite additional team members. During the course of a free trial, you aren't charged for extra users. So feel free to take full advantage of that during your trial, so that way you can see how Katana works, having all of your teammates using it at the same time. You can also manage your subscription from here and also log out. These top menu options here are the different sections of Katana. Sell, make, and buy, which is sales orders, manufacturing orders, and purchase orders. And then stock, items, and contacts. Stock is all of your stock quantities for your products and materials. Items is your portfolio of products and materials. And contacts is a list of your suppliers and your customers. Okay, so for starters, as a new user of Katana, the most important thing that you need to do is be able to get your data into Katana's platform. And the best way we recommend doing this is importing your products first. So the two ways of importing your products can be done either A, via one of the e-commerce integrations, where you can connect either Shopify or WooCommerce, or another one we may support in the future, directly to Katana, and it will import all of your customers and all of your products. And you also have the option, at least for Shopify, to import your initial stock levels. And we will build that out for WooCommerce too, since it's currently new. And so what this will do is it will create the import of your products from your e-commerce platform along with those matching SKUs, and then it will populate your items list here under products. That would be the first step. If you're not a direct e-commerce seller keeping their products on your e-commerce platform, but maybe you're a traditional manufacturer who isn't operating an e-commerce space, you would, in this case, do a data import where you download the Add New Products template, fill in the information, and then upload the data. If you don't decide to take that route, maybe you only have a handful of products, you can start adding your products here from the global add button where you add a new product card. So there's basically 3 ways to get your data into Katana so that you can easily get started. So the first thing that happens is your products come in, and if you're doing the e-commerce integration, so do your customers that you've previously done sales with. The second step that we recommend is adding your raw materials. So the 2 ways to add raw materials is to download our Add New Materials template, fill it out, put in your SKUs, all of the data, the variations that occur for those materials, and then simply upload it from here. Alternatively, if you decide not to go that route, you can add new material cards from this page. So once you have products in and then materials in, then you need to bridge the gap between products and materials. And to bridge that gap means that you need to generate recipes. And so what you will do at this stage is generating your recipes on Katana will look a little bit like this. You'll have your product uploaded, and I'm going to use this coffee table as an example. And this coffee table comes in with 4 different variations. And then inside of its recipe are raw materials that bring the 2 together, and also the quantity that's related to those raw materials. We will go through the making a product feature a little later in the video, so that way it's kind of more manageable. The first time you start doing this, you'll also have a nice little tutorial here that'll pop up in the bottom right, which you can go ahead and watch, and that will help you during your onboarding process. Now, the last piece of information that you would probably pull into Katana after you've defined your recipes and operations for those products and materials might be getting squared away with having all of the proper contacts in here. Something that's very handy is if you connect your accounting platform, such as QuickBooks or Xero, then what we will enable you to do is pull in all of your supplier data, so you can then populate this system with your supplier data, and you can actually assign suppliers to each material. That way, there is as little data entry as necessary to kind of get squared away if you're working with integrations. These integrations with accounting platforms enable you to connect Katana to your QuickBooks Online, for example, and you can map a sales account directly to a sales revenue account directly to your sales orders in Katana. So every time you generate a sales order in Katana, you can push it as an invoice to QuickBooks. The same would apply for your purchasing. So if you generate a purchase order inside of Katana, you can push it to QuickBooks as a bill. We have some nice tutorials for QuickBooks as well as Shopify and WooCommerce on our website if you need to get more information about that. Okay, so now let's go into some of the more technical stuff when it comes to Katana's different parts. So where I want to start here is on the sell page. The sell page being a list of all your sales orders. If you're connected to your e-commerce platform, your sales orders will automatically populate here, and it will contain the order itself, the order number, the customer, the location that it's going to default its shipping from, the total amount that they've spent on the sales order, and then a delivery deadline, which defaults automatically inside of Katana's platform. Here, going off to the right from a basic overview level, is our availabilities. We have sales item availability, and we have ingredients availability, and then production status, and then delivery status. In Katana, you can add a new sales order right here from the sales order menu, and that will automatically populate the sales order to the very bottom of the list. So your most recent orders that come in go automatically to the bottom. So let's go over what a sales order looks like. If you click on a sales order, inside of it, you will see the customer's name, the sales order number. The sales order number will pull in from your e-commerce integration, the creation date, and then you have the option to select where you're going to ship those items from. So you can select which location will satisfy those item orders. And then you have the list of all of the items that were ordered from your customer. A little quick link if you need to open up the customer or open up the product card, the quantity that they ordered, the price per unit, and the total price with the tax. And then it will identify, are the sales items available in stock, yes or no. It'll turn green. If they are in stock, then the ingredients to make that product have already been processed and the production is completed. Subtotal and tax, and the totals down here. And also you can leave any notes or comments specific to that customer sales orders if necessary right here inside of the additional info section. This is quite common for companies like that might have some special requests on the orders. You can go inside of here and add links to any outside documents. You can also make some comments so that way the members of your team know exactly what needs to be accounted for this particular customer sales order. So to touch base a little bit more detail about these different statuses here, it's a little bit complex, but try to keep it as simple as possible. This is what we call our sales item availability. It basically provides a status on all of the items inside of the sales order, if you can actually fulfill your sales order at this very moment in time. This is very critical for companies that are make to stock, because this looks at the availability of all of the products that are on the sales order and asks, hey, can I ship them today, yes or no? If the answer is yes, it says they're in stock. But we have a booking engine built into Katana, and this booking engine will actually reserve available items on the sales order first based on the rank of the sales order inside of the sales order queue. If the item is not in stock, it will begin to actually book those items either coming from manufacturing or from an open purchase order for items that you resell by the specific date shown here. If you don't have enough in stock or you don't have those items coming in from manufacturing or purchasing, then it will say that it's not available, and that is your indication that you have to do something in order to satisfy that sales order for your customer. Now, on the other hand, if you're a company that is a make-to-order business, you probably wouldn't be paying attention to the sales items page, because the sales items page is typically intended for looking at a product that you have in stock. But make-to-order businesses do not carry product stock. So basically, if they're not carrying product stock, you will be looking here at if you have the ingredients available to manufacture the sales order that you have coming in from your customers. So for example, if you're a make-to-order business, you will identify based on this question: do I have enough raw materials in stock to manufacture all of the products in the sales order, yes or no? Answer yes, it's in stock. Answer is no, it'll look for any materials coming in or ingredients coming in from an open purchase order, or in some cases, an open manufacturing order if you're working with sub-assemblies. And furthermore, if you don't have them in stock or they're not coming, then it will tell you that it's not available. And then that means that you need to do something with regards to purchasing or with regards to the ingredients that are used to make the products or items in that sales order. Then we have a production status. So Katana is quite intuitive in this way that we actually will book products being made in manufacturing directly to a sales order. There are two types of booking. We have a dynamic booking and a static booking. The dynamic booking is whenever you have a sales order that is booking from make to stock manufacturing orders. And then we have a dynamic booking that allows you, a static booking that allows you to book a sales order directly to a manufacturing order, which is for your make to order businesses. So you can see that, for example, if you have a work in progress here, you can look at the work in progress and identify that this is sales order number 2 / line item 1, a dining room table beige that's being made in 1 unit, expected by the 8th of July. In addition to that, I have sales order 2, line item 2, on manufacturing, television stand, 1 piece, expected by the 8th of July. So this right here is telling me that this is a sales order that has been pushed to manufacturing as a make to order, which means that sales order number 2 itself is currently listed as sales order number 2 itself on the manufacturing schedule. And both of the line items inside of sales order number 2 are broken down as individual units and connected together. And those two are linked together back to sales. If you have a not started progress, it means that the item is existing as an open order on manufacturing, but at the present is not currently started. And then if something has been blocked, it means, for example, something is hung up for that manufacturing status, for that manufacturing order linked to this sales order. And lastly, if you have neither of those happening on your production status, you can decide how you're going to make that item. When you click on the make button on a sales order, you have 2 options. You have a make in batch or a make to order. Now you can look at the make in batch as basically a make to stock workflow, or you can look at the make to order as exactly what it is, a make to order workflow. But what make in batch does is if you click on this, it will take a look at the sales order you just clicked on and identify the items that are in that sales order, and then see how many pieces are you actually missing from stock in order to satisfy or fulfill that sales order. And it will look at this 1 unit of this product in that sales order and then check all of the sales orders for the same product and then identify the missing amount. And then if you want to make it, for example, in a batch, you might not make this television stand in 2 units. You can specify that, okay, I make 5 units of that television stand, so I'm going to generate a manufacturing order for 5 pieces of that, since I need to satisfy 2 commitments against my sales order. You can create it and close it. Now what happens at that stage is the items that are inside of the sales order are then immediately booked to the manufacturing order of 5 pieces that you just created. And this right here is what we call our dynamic booking, because when a certain prioritization changes on the product in the manufacturing queue, it will affect what it's booked to on the sales page. This is a completely different topic that we actually have a really useful booking engine video on our KatanaMRP.com YouTube channel, which you can check out to get more information about how Katana's booking engine works. And then in addition to that, we have the make to order button, which will take your sales order and then push that sales order directly to your manufacturing queue. And it will identify that it has not been started. And what I mean by that is you can see that this is sales order number 6, and sales order number 6 then appears here as sales order number 6 on your manufacturing queue. So that's the basic overview of Katana's sell page. Before we move on to the make page, a couple of other things to take note of. Katana allows you to change the rank of the sales order on the sales page. This is very critical for businesses, especially if you're a make to order business, because a lot of times your deadlines are in sales are what determines what gets produced in manufacturing first. So for example, sales order number 6, which you see is at the bottom of my sales order list, and then on my make page, you'll see it located here. If I actually change the rank of my sales order number 6 directly to the very top, then it becomes the most important priority for my sales. What that does on the make page, since they're linked together, it also changes its priority on manufacturing. And then furthermore, it goes even further directly to my shop floor team who's using the tasks list, that every single resource, like John, is going to be assigned to sales order 6 because that is his priority. Or Mary is going to be working on sales order 6 because that's her priority. And then it goes all the way down the list, because that will become the product or the make to order that needs to be pushed out directly to sales first. Lastly, here on the done page, you will see a full list of all of the sales orders that you have marked as delivered. To mark a sales order as delivered, you would simply just go over here to the delivery section. You can mark it as packed. It will close. It will reduce the inventory for the products in that sales order. And then if you mark it as delivered, it will close the sales order, and that sales order will appear on the done section. Done section is really handy for basic reporting purposes. For example, you can filter out by your customers. You can see the total amount that was paid for any specified period of time, which you can do through the dates here with a custom date range. Also current month or last month. You can see the total cost of goods sold and your tax, and the profit you made on a per sales order basis. You can also export that information if you need to break it down further. The export is really handy because it breaks it down by single line items, and you can really start to evaluate where are you making the most profit when it comes to your sales against all of your sales orders. Next bit, we'll go over to the make page. On the make page, this is your production schedule. We've already touched base on it in a few spots already with talking about sales, but on the make page, this is where you have a list of all of your products that need to be made. Every single line you see here is its own product. It's basically a single queue setup. So for example, I have a coffee table here that's being made for sales order number 6. It's for 3 pieces. It takes me 27 hours to make it, and then I have an estimated production deadline located here. And then I can identify, do I have the ingredients available to make that product? Yes or no. As you can see, I don't have them available in order to make it. Then the production status here, which is also linked back to the sales page. So these are make to orders, which you can see have an associated sales order number as well as the customer tied to them directly. If you have make to stock orders like this one here, you can see that it also doesn't have a direct customer associated with it. And these are products that we're basically making to stock. The cool thing about Katana in this manner is if you are a company that has both make to order as well as make to stock workflows, we support both of these. And that is quite a common case with small manufacturers, because you might keep a stock of product that you sell direct to consumer through your e-commerce platform, but when you get big orders from wholesalers, you might possibly only satisfy those as a make to order function. And being able to track that raw material demand against both is very critical and essential to your business. When it comes to Katana's booking engine, you'll see the ingredients list here. And what I want to really demonstrate is essentially how the booking engine works. And so a good example of this is if you take a look at this dining room table here that's beige, I have as position number 9 in the manufacturing queue. And then I have another beige dining room table here at the top, which is number 2 in the manufacturing queue. Now, for this dining room table that's at the top, I'm making one piece and the ingredients are currently in stock and I have enough available in order to make that one unit. The one lower down the list is a different story. I have 2 pieces on this order and I don't have enough ingredients available at this stage based on its rank to actually be able to make it. But if for some reason priorities change in manufacturing and I'm asked to make this order first, I could increase it up in the list to above the other one, and then the actual ingredient status changes. So as you can see, based on its rank of prioritization, it's going to book the available ingredients first. This is really critical for companies that really need to understand what they can make based on what they have on hand, and also based on the priority in which they receive an order, or if the priority changes. Most businesses will fulfill chronologically as the orders come in, they fill it at that time. But if there is a certain case that comes in where you need to make that change because priorities change, then Katana is built to handle the available ingredients to satisfy that demand. So you have at least live knowledge directly in front of you when somebody calls you up and says, hey, I need this by then. Can you do it? Yes or no? You move it up the list, you check the update on the production deadline, and then bingo, you know what you need to know. So now I can basically make one of those units because I had enough to make one unit, but then it took everything from stock and now it's booking from an open purchase order that's expected to arrive on the 8th of July. But the one below it, I don't have any open purchase orders that it can book from, so it's telling me it's not available. And that's how it works. It basically tells me, since it's not available, it's time for me to purchase more materials. Now I can open up that manufacturing order here and take a look at what's going on. And I can see how much I don't have available directly from the manufacturing order itself. I'm missing beige paint. Well, how on earth does that make sense? Click on the info button and you'll get a little bit more information here about how this appears. I currently have 4 liters in stock, so I have enough to make one table. I'm expecting 6 liters from an open PO, so that's going to come in at some point. But I've committed 13.5 liters to production, which basically I have 10 in stock plus expected, and I'm missing 3.5. So that tells me that, okay, you have this amount committed to your manufacturing activities, but you're missing 3.5 in order to really satisfy all of your manufacturing orders. So there's a quick add buy button there. You can purchase it and then actually generate a purchase order for all of those materials so you are able to stay on top of your purchasing activities and know what you need in advance immediately. While we're inside of the manufacturing order, let's go ahead and take a quick look at it. So manufacturing order is a single product. The quantity of the product is multiplied by the number of ingredients that is required to make one unit. This gives you the total cost associated with those materials, which you will see calculated down here. It also shows you the operations related to making that product and the resource they're assigned to, and the time it takes to make them. Inside of Katana, for example, it's not uncommon that you might have deviations when it comes to the amount of material used or deviations in the amount of time spent making something. So we do allow for the flexibility for you to go into the manufacturing order and change the consumption rates. For example, I might use 16 meters of wood this time around, or I might use 3.5 liters of paint this time around. For whatever reason, maybe there's a slight adjustment that's being made. You can update it on a manufacturing order to manufacturing order basis. Furthermore, for example, if John is not currently available, maybe you would ask Mary to do that process for John. And so you can assign that resource for that dedicated operation step. And also you can adjust your time here. So if it didn't take 4 hours, but maybe since Mary replaced John, she might take 5 hours to do it, you can also update that as well. Your team has the ability to go inside of here and click on each of their operations and mark it as like a work in progress or mark it as completed. And what this is going to do is it's going to change the status of the actual manufacturing order to a work in progress like so when they start clicking on these status changes. If you won't be using Katana like in your workshop team, like in a digital way, you can also print out your orders very easily by manufacturing order PDFs. You can also have one for taking notes. Or for example, if you have a shop floor team that you don't want them to see the costs associated with making your products, you can actually print one out that excludes the costs. You can generate a pick list for all of your ingredients too, if necessary. And you can duplicate your manufacturing orders if needed, or delete them as well from this page. Furthermore, you can add additional information to that dedicated manufacturing order, which would also be available on the PDFs that you would print out when you export them. I'll go ahead and exit out of that for now. Going a bit further into detail about your manufacturing schedule, it would be important to cover the details related to production time and how we get production deadlines inside of Katana. So what Katana does is it gives you the opportunity to automatically estimate your production deadlines. Now, how this is calculated is it's calculated on a workshop level, and it uses a 5-day work week. So the best way to explain this so it's simple is you can set your weekly throughput for a certain number of hours of operation availability, and all of your products have a certain amount of time it takes to make them. So for example, if you set your weekly throughput for 200 hours of operation, let's say you have four members of your team that work 50 hours a week. You set it for 200 hours of operation. What Katana will do is it will take 200 hours of operation of available time in a 5-day work week over a 7-day calendar week and apply this 275 hours of production scheduling against it in order to estimate the production deadline. So for example, if you're configuring your deadlines here and you've got 275 hours worth of work in the pipeline, but 2 of your guys are going to take a vacation, then that means that your production is going to get spread out because you're missing the labor or resources you need in order to fulfill that quicker. So if I change this from 200 to 100, you will actually see the production deadlines update as well. So you see, for example, this is the 8th of July, these are 10th and 12th. But if I change that, then these 11th, 12th, etc. will update to the 17th, 18th, 19th, etc. for my production deadlines based on what I have available from my resources. Alternatively, you might hire a couple of extra guys to help you out. You change that to 300 hours of operation, and next thing you know, you're completing all of your orders within a couple of days. A couple of days being that today is the 5th of July, and I'm going to have all of my 275 hours of work time completed within 1 week. And that's how that would work. You can also filter your orders here by customer, for example. I want to look at Rob's customers, I can use the filter to do that. I can filter by product. Maybe I'm going to talk about all of my dining room tables. Job done, I can do that. I can also filter out when my production forecasts are. So maybe I have a 7-day forecast. I can shortlist that, or I can do a shortlist for a specific day moving forward. You can change your prioritization of manufacturing orders very simply, just like so. And then you will also see how all of the ingredient status availabilities will update as well moving forward. On the done section, this is really good if you're into accounting. Following all of the costing for your products for every manufacturing order that you process, you will see your completed orders here. So your completed orders, which you can filter by customer, order number, or product, or the quantity made, you get a full breakdown of the cost of goods sold for those items. So what are your material cost, your sub-assembly cost, your operations costs for each manufacturing order, and also the total costs. You can also use this for basic reporting broken down by any specific range of months. On the tasks page, here you will see every single operation that needs to be performed and the resource that is meant to perform it. If you, for example, want to take a look at all of the manufacturing orders that your resources are doing, you can do so from here. You can basically even shortlist this by John and then see only John's manufacturing orders that he's working on. You could break this down by operations. Let's say, for example, you want to see every single person who's doing a cutting process. You could also break it down by your product type for every person who is working on dining room tables. Anything you need to do, you can do a very easy filter here inside of Katana's task list. You can also print the task list out if you want, or even more importantly, you can export it. Now the exports are very handy because even, for example, like this manufacturing company that makes furniture, you can generate a full cut list just straight from the export if it's easier for you. Just generate a filter, print it out, and send it to your shop floor team. It's one piece of paper. Alternatively, you can also generate the filter itself and then print it to get a filtered list. So in general, that's kind of how Katana's manufacturing order page works. And that should give a nice little overview to kind of get set up and how to use it. Now on our buy page, we can touch base a little bit more on this later after we deal with the stock stuff. But the buy page is a full list of all your purchase orders. So your purchase orders will be all of the items that you're buying from your suppliers, which you would generate an open order for, and then it would have an expected arrival date. This is also helping you determine your lead times, because every single purchase order that you generate, you have the opportunity to specify an expected arrival date. Some POs will arrive sooner than others, so you can specify that here as well. Then you have a list of all your completed purchase orders here, which you can keep track of over any specified date range, and you can also export that list. So the next thing we'll do is we'll talk about stock page. Stock page is very, very critical element of Katana. It is one of the most important areas where you're going to be doing a lot of general operations and functions in your business. So I'll zoom in a little bit just so it's a little bit more easy to see. But basically, it contains a list of all your products and all of your materials. So on your products list, the way we have set up Katana originally was to be basically that products are something that you make and sell, and materials are something that you buy and use as an ingredient for your products. So here inside of the products page, you will see the items names, including all variants, the variant code, the category for that particular product or material. Also a default supplier for any item that you buy from a supplier. And then we have average costing here as well. Total value in stock amount, expected, committed, reorder point, and missing or excess, plus a quick add, make or buy button. So what do each of these mean? We've already covered the names. The variant codes or SKUs for every product that you have is very critical. This is very important for companies that need to track their stock keeping units, which is the main identifier, the unique number that's associated with every product and material on your platform. So every product and every product's variant should have a unique number associated to it in order to make your integrations, for example, work properly. Then there's the category, which we covered. And as you can see, just as I wanted to show you before, that when you create categories, you can create easy filters using our filtering system. Now, we have an average cost column here, and the average cost of a product is what we call a moving average cost. Now, what our system does is when you create products and you define the ingredients that go into those products, every single unit of measure for every single ingredient you have carries a certain cost. And when those costs are added to a product, the entire product generates its own material cost. And also when you add operations to it, that product generates an operations cost. And then those two together create the cost of the product. Now, as fluctuations happen with your operations and as fluctuations happen with your material prices, it also influences the cost of the products you make. So for example, if you're selling seasonal products that might be expensive one time of the year and cheap another time of the year, then Katana will factor in every single material that you purchase, and then wherever that material is used in the product, it will influence its product average, moving average cost, which changes over time. The reason why that's important is because here on your items page, you'll actually be able to see the cost here, and that's the live cost. That's basically taking into account all of your operation input pricing, all of your material input pricing for making those products, and then updating it live, telling you what your profit is against your default price, and then giving you a margin. And you can monitor your margins and then dig deeper in areas where you need to make adjustments. And then there's the value in stock, which will basically multiply the in-stock amount times the average cost, and then you have your value in stock. And in-stock quantity, which is self-explanatory, that's how much you have on hand of this particular product or material. Then there's the expected quantity. So for products that you make, the expected quantity means how many of those units of product are coming from manufacturing. For products and materials that you buy, this shows how many are expected from a purchase order. So that gives you this number. Whenever you receive a purchase order, or when you receive complete a manufacturing order, then this expected quantity reduces and the in-stock quantity increases. Then we have commitments. Commitments are used as a way to show a product being committed to a sales order, or a raw material or ingredient being committed to a manufacturing order. And that number increases when a demand is generated against that item. These commitments will reduce, for example, whenever that item is taken from stock. So for example, if you have 1 unit of product in stock and you have a commitment of 1, the very moment that the commitment reduces, which means you've completed a sales order, it will reduce the commitment and it will also reduce the in-stock amount. And also we have reorder points, which we touched based on briefly during the initial beginning of the video. A reorder point is basically a point that you set when you need to generate an order for new product. So for example, if you have a reorder point of 10 units, it basically means that the very moment I hit 10 units, then I need to order new product. The reason why reorder points are important is, for example, if you have a material that has a very long lead time, you know that you will be consuming it at a certain rate, a certain weekly rate you will consume that material. But at the same time, you need to have a safety stock available in case you have a fluctuation of demand. And in addition to that, you have to factor in the amount of time it takes for it to arrive. So you might have a very high reorder point for a material that you buy because it takes so long to get there and you use a lot of it. So that's what reorder points are for, and they come in very handy so that way you never stock out of a raw material that might take a really long time to get. Point in case, if you generate sales orders a lot and you run out of raw material stock and that material stock has an 8-week lead time, you won't be able to fulfill your sales order for 8 weeks. That's really bad for business. So managing reorder points, I think, is a very critical role that we aim to handle for customers who need to stay on top and prevent themselves from stocking out of products or materials. And then we have the missing or excess column here. So you can see this turn red. You can actually put in a minus symbol and then shortlist it to all of the red items. But what this means is that your commitments and reorder point combined, if they exceed what you have in stock or expected, then it will create a negative number here, which tells you that, hey, it's time for you to make more of this product in order for you to satisfy, let's say, for sales orders against products, or for manufacturing raw materials against manufacturing orders. And then that's what that means. So when this goes into a negative number, it means that you have basically the in-stock value, which is 0, plus 3 expected, minus 3 committed equals 0. And we also generate a commitment with your reorder point. 0 minus 5 gives you a negative 5 value. And then it means, okay, time to make 5 more of those particular products. Moving deeper into the stock page, you'll see a little drop-down box up here. This drop-down box is your different locations. So you can switch between location 1, for example, which will contain the full list of your products and materials for that location, and all of the related associated numbers for the items at that location. On the materials page, everything pretty much operates in the exact same manner, with the exception that whenever something is being expected, it typically is only available expected from an open purchase order. Commitments can be made to, commitments are generally made toward manufacturing orders when it comes to your raw materials. Also here on the quick add buy buttons that we have, you can actually select one of these buy buttons and generate a purchase order straight from the stock screen based on the total amounts that are missing. And I'll show you that in a minute after we cover the bases on a raw material card. So let's open up this material card. We see that we have paint here. And this paint comes in a unit of measure in liters. And we've specified a default supplier. The default supplier in this case is our paint supplier. And we also have a variety of variations of this paint. So to add different variations, you would have the open configuration button here, where you can add a variant option and then select different option values. So we make paint in brown, black, beige, and cognac. And then all of these variants get added down here below. You can specify a default purchase price per variant and also the variant code. This gives you, and then it will also show you how much is currently in stock. Now on the stock page, as you can see here for materials, if I go ahead and buy something, this paint supplier that I showed you on the material card, we can generate an order for all of the missing materials from Katana that need to be added to a purchase order. We have the option to add other missing items from the same supplier to this purchase order by clicking this checkbox. And what that does is it will look at all of the materials that have the same supplier mentioned as their default supplier. It will look at the quantity that's missing from stock against what you need to use it for. And then we'll aggregate all of those missing items directly onto a purchase order so you can generate a PO directly for your suppliers straight from Katana's app with as few clicks as possible. You can go inside of here, for example, maybe you have the beige paint, it has a minimum order quantity of 10 liters. You can add that or update it, and the same will be applied as here as well. it updates all of the prices for you too. You can also change the price per unit if you have a different price that comes in at that moment. Once you've done this, you could easily generate a PDF, either a purchase order or a request for quote, and attach that PDF directly to an email and send it off to your supplier. And they can write you back and say, everything is confirmed, looks good, and then you can generate the PO itself. Once those items arrive to your inventory, you can then mark them as received, and then they increase the stock level inside of Katana. And that purchase order that we just created and received is now listed here on our PO done section. And you'll see that the changes have been reflected on the materials section here. There's nothing missing, no paints are missing, and we have quite a lot available currently now in stock. Now, once all of these items have become in stock, you will then see a couple of things happen on the make page where the ingredients have increased and say, okay, look at that. All of the paints that we needed to buy are now available, and we can create and begin manufacturing for each of these products on our production schedule. So that's how everything starts to slowly come together inside of Katana's platform. Additionally, inside of Katana on the stock page, you can add stock adjustments by clicking on the stock adjustment tab up here. And you'll have a full list of all the stock adjustments you've done previously inside of Katana. And to add a new one, you can go to the global add menu and select add stock adjustment. And in here, for any reason, you can create a stock adjustment for all of your products and materials. For example, maybe if you have a product that was returned from a sales order and you need to add it back into inventory, you can do so, for example, by saying returned goods, and maybe, for example, it was a lounge chair, and you would add 1 unit back into your product inventory. The same can also be applied for cases such as you consumed too much of this particular raw material during a manufacturing process and you need to make an adjustment. So, for example, maybe for wood, I had used 10 meters that I didn't expect to, so I need to change my inventory to reflect that. That's how stock adjustments work, so that way you can fine tune and make changes as needed to satisfy the requirements when different things happen. So you would save that by exiting out, and it will be added to your list. Furthermore, stock transfers is associated with our multi-location feature. So if you need to send product or material from one location to another, you can conduct a stock transfer here by selecting the location where you're sending from and also selecting the location that you're sending to. And then you can select your item. Let's say it was that lounge chair that we had just added from the stock adjustment to our main location. You can then select the quantity of 1, and it will increase the quantity of that lounge chair product from at location number 1 and reduce it at the main location. And to see that adjustment that had taken place, you can go back to your stock page, select location 1, do a filter for your lounge chair, and then you'll see, in this case, I currently have 2 pieces in stock because in the past I have conducted 2 stock movements from stock transfer number 1 and stock transfer number 2. Now, what's really quite handy is if you click on any of these links under the in stock, expected, or committed column, it will bring you into our section called the inventory intel. Anytime you need to answer a question about, hey, how did that product increase or decrease, or how did that material increase or decrease, you can open up this section, click on the in stock button, and then see a historical history of the dedicated movements against that item in stock and see exactly what caused them to either increase or decrease. So in this case, I have 2 stock movements that increase the quantity by 1. It's quantity change +1, +1. The older one said I had previously the balance of 1 after it increased from 0, and then I added an extra 1 and it increased to 2. And the same also applies for reductions. You can also take a look at more granular information related to where this item is expected from in terms of manufacturing it, where it's committed to in terms of sales orders, etc. So quite a lot of interesting and informative detail that you can capture from this little dialog box. Okay, and going into our items list to touch base on a few more details, we will take a look here at one of our products. So actually, I'll go back real quick. You can see a full list of all your products here. You can set default sales price for all of your items. And then, as I previously mentioned, related to moving average cost, you can see the cost change fluctuate in live. And so you're always up to date, and you can see the profit that you make along with the margin. And here on the materials page, it's just a full list of all the materials you have in stock, or all of the materials that you have in your platform, and the category and the default supplier who supplies them, along with the default purchase price per unit of those materials. So let's do a quick run through real fast on how to fulfill an order and see how all of these elements that we have discussed come together. So for example, let's say that we're going to add a new product card. And this is going to be a product that we sell in Katana. This product we're going to call wooden stool. And this wooden stool is part of our chairs category. And while I define this product here and I enter its name, its category, and its unit of measure, I have the option to choose if it's a product that I make or a product that I buy, or both. If it's something I make, then that means that it's an item that I manufacture. If it's a product that I also buy, that means that I can also buy it in from a supplier and resell it. So to kind of kick things off here with relation to that, let's go ahead and give this wooden stool a couple of variants. The first variant will be a color, and the first color would be black, and the second one would be beige. We'll just keep it at 2 so it's a simple overview. Now, during the setup process, when you're adding products, you have the opportunity to copy over your variant setups from other products if you wish. That will basically take a look at another pre-existing product. Maybe, for example, you might sell soap, and the soap you carry in 5 different flavors. But you're adding another soap to your platform, which is a slightly different product. It could be a soap that's shaped like a different animal, for example. You can copy the variant setup and automatically pre-populate your data, so it makes the data entry process a lot smoother. So let's go ahead and generate those product variants here, and let's give them a general SKU. So let's call this wooden stool a WS-BL for black, and we'll call this one a WS-BG for beige. Now, maybe my black stool is a pretty popular item, so I might give it a sales price of, let's say, $150. But maybe my beige one isn't so popular, so I might sell it for $125. Now, I'll have an ingredients cost here listed as well. This will automatically populate based on the ingredients that you enter into this platform. So let's go ahead and also select that I buy this product. What this option does is it gives me the opportunity to add this product into a purchase order. So if I'm buying this product from, like, let's say, a manufacturer so I can resell it, then that also gives me the flexibility for a product to both make it and also purchase it. So let's say that maybe when I buy this product, I'm actually buying it from a subcontractor. For example, this isn't uncommon. You might be able to make stuff in-house, but you might also work directly with a subcontract manufacturer where you get that product in when you can't satisfy making it on your own. So you might have somebody do that process for you, and in this way, it will help you. Now, the difference here is when you select like this option, then you need to come up with a default purchase price. Now, a default purchase price isn't necessarily the actual price you will always pay for it. It is only the initial price that will appear on a purchase order when you generate a purchase order for this product. So maybe on average, I will buy this product for $50 for resale, and maybe I'll buy this one also for $50 for resale. That could always change, but you would change that on the purchase order itself, not necessarily on the product card. Now that we have this all set up, everything looks pretty clean and clear. If you have a situation where you need to add additional information, you could probably put some data down here, such as a link to a picture that you might save on Google Drive or on Dropbox. Maybe you would also put some special instructions there as well. This way, you might have just a quick reference point to recall anything that's related specifically to that product. Now, for the next level, we will set up the product recipe, or the bill of materials, as some others call it. Now, for our ingredients list, to make this wooden stool, we need to use wood. So let's go ahead and add some wood into here. And you'll see that we already have a wood material inside of our items list. And in order to make this particular stool, we might use 2 meters of wood. And over on this section, these different columns, you will see this column here that says color, product/color. This means that these are the associated variant categories you have for that product. For example, I have inside of here black and beige. Now, we use wood on all of the wooden stools, no matter what color they are. So in this case, I'm going to select all. Now, the next step here is to create the ingredients that apply to my dedicated variants. For example, we want to use black paint and also beige paint. So what Katana will allow you to do is allow you to select different ingredients on that product card and then map them directly to the variant that they apply to. So in this case, I would have black paint that I might use 0.5 liters on, and that would apply only to the black one. Then I would apply, maybe I use less beige paint, I might use 0.35 liters of beige paint, and that applies only to the beige color. So now what I have done is I have mapped out my product recipe directly to my product variants using the different variant materials that apply to them. And you can see that I have a dedicated stock cost. Now remember, what we explained earlier is a stock cost is related to your purchasing habits against those ingredients or materials. That number is determined by your unit of measure and your previous purchasing history, which will give you a calculation of this amount of value against the quantity that's been specified. If you also are interested in speeding up this process during the recipe setup, you can actually also copy recipes from other products and pull them in and then change the quantities as they apply. This would also possibly apply to maybe a different stool. Maybe I had a stool that's made out of metal, but I still use the same paints, and instead of it being wood here, it would be metal. I would just copy the recipe from a different stool, pre-populate everything, leave the paints the way they are, and then just change out one ingredient. That also kind of helps you make recipes a little bit quicker. Now, since we've already set up everything on the product recipe, let's go ahead and create a production operation. So for operations, where we set this up, this is the cost of an operation per unit produced. So what I mean by per unit is our unit of measure is pieces in this case, but do keep in mind that if you are working with like bulk items, like gallons or liters or whatever it might be, it will be the price of that operation per unit of measure. So the price per gallon, or the price per certain cases for each time that you make a single unit of that item. We will be incorporating some additional features very soon that allow you to specify fixed costs against operation steps per unit made. So it would be a cost per unit on the operation, and that will help alleviate a lot of the trouble that comes with the hourly basis. So for example, in this case, we're going to create a cutting as the first step or first operation and assign this to John. Now it's currently listed as John as the resource because that's going to be the default resource that will take over this process. If you're using workstations, then you would probably select a default workstation as opposed to a default person. But you can also set up your resources this way as well. Cost per hour. Now, a lot of people might ask, hey, what is the cost per hour if I have one worker making more money than another worker? Very challenging question to answer. It kind of depends on the use case. But having said that, a really common or more best practice way to handle this situation is to generate the average cost per hour for the entire workshop. So if you have an hourly labor cost per month, if you have a monthly cost for all your workers, you would divide that by the total hours that they have, and that would give you a cost rate per hour. You could use that, something very standardized, maybe like $20 per hour. Then you would apply the time it takes to do that cutting process against that single unit of product. In this case, maybe it takes 2 hours to make one stool on the cutting side, and then that automatically pre-calculates your operation cost for that item and gives you the total time it takes to make one unit. The second bit here would be maybe, let's say we do a gluing process, and the person who does gluing is Mary, and we also apply our standard rate, cost per hour, $20 US, and that might take 1 hour to perform, and then you get a general 3-hour total cost and a total operations cost here. And last but not least, we might have the assembly process, which currently is Chris, who manages that on a regular basis. And assembly might take, will cost $20 an hour and take maybe 2 hours and 30 minutes. And then all of that information will update in this way. So actually, since I realized that my default price is actually too low, I'm going to change it to 200. And now I've got a better margin. So you can now see that my ingredients costs are different per variant based on the fact that I have different quantities and there's different prices for those materials. And then operation cost is the same because the operations are applied for all of the variants. We will enable as well this year the opportunity to have variant specific production operations. So you could have a set of operations that apply to a dedicated variant. And that will be an added feature inside of Katana later on down the road. Anytime you have a product that you want to duplicate, you can easily duplicate it here and change the name, but it keeps everything else the same. Same materials, same operation steps. So that could also help you with similar products that you might sell across your platform. So now that we've created the wooden stool product, we might also need to add some material into Katana. Now the way you add material to Katana is like so. You would go to the new material card from the global add button, and let's say that we needed to add wood screws because for some reason somebody forgot to put them in here. And then we would call that a component. We would measure that in pieces, and it doesn't have any variance. We would select our furniture crafting product supplier as the main person we issue or purchase this item from, and maybe the price per unit on average might come out to be 0.10 cents per unit. We can put that into Katana in this manner. So that's kind of how it all comes together. So let's say that we need to take a look at our list and find that wooden stool again. And then go and update our recipe. So I'll add wood screws here. So you can easily go in and update your recipe anytime you need to. And you can apply it to all of the variants. So you can see that this has also increased or changed our ingredients cost too. Looks good. Added $3 to the total cost. All right, so what happens in this case? A customer order comes in and we generate a sales order. Let's say that we have a friend named Mark, And Mark is this guy who wants to buy a couple of our wooden stools. He buys a black one and he buys a wooden stool that is beige. Now you see that you've added your sales order into Katana, and immediately our system checks to see if this product is in stock. Yes or no. It's not. It's not coming from manufacturing. Yes or no. It says it's not available. And then we have ingredients, and it says the ingredients are not available. So maybe he wants to buy 3 black stools and he wants to buy 5 beige stools. Prices all increase and update. Now what's going on inside of our stock page is on our sales list, you will see that this same status is also existing. On our stock page, to wrap everything and bring it all together, you can look at our products for the wooden stool. The wooden stool here will show that I'm missing this number of pieces from stock. So for example, I generally make the black or the beige stools to stock. So I can generate a manufacturing order here like so, and create and close it, and it will be automatically issued to the manufacturing floor. But for example, the wooden stool, the black ones, I might need to put some special stuff on it, so the customer might request me to make it to order. Then what I'll do from that case is I'll open up his order here, and you'll see that the beige one has changed its status to expected because now we have an open manufacturing order, but the black one I might click as a make to order. And then that status updates as well. So on the manufacturing page, you'll see that these 2 new products have been added here directly to our make list for Mark. And this one is a make to order, which is sales order number 1-1. And then this is a make to stock, which is being dynamically pushed directly to Mark's sales order number 1. I am currently missing products here. So if I were to open up this order and identify what is missing from stock, I could generate a wood screw purchase right here from the screen. And it shows me that I'm missing 240 pieces because I need 240 pieces to make all of the stools that are appearing on Mark's order. So I can just generate an order for that, and it will open up the PO like so. Maybe instead of buying 240, I could buy 300. And then that order is now saved into Katana as a outstanding purchase order awaiting its arrival. On the make page, Mark's order here at the bottom also changes his expected status because now it's booking those wooden screws that I need directly from the purchase order that is expected to arrive on the 19th of July. Once the order arrives in July, for here, purchase order number 2, I will mark it as received. When it's marked as received, the status updates again for sales order 1 here. And then I also have some material expected for this guy on the second product that Mark ordered. And it's currently missing beige paint, which I can buy as well. Create an open order. Mark what I need as received when it comes in. And then on the make page, the ingredients are all now in stock. Once they're in stock, my team, I could change the importance of priority all the way up to the very top inside of Katana like so for both of those orders. And then what you will see here happening is that my task list for those guys that were working on those products will also be indicated here for sales order 1 and MO2. So once they start on that and start on that, then you will also see that on the schedule, the production status changes to a work in progress. If, for example, each member is working directly inside of the manufacturing order, they can update that information like so. Once all operations are completed, the manufacturing order is also completed. That product is available for shipment. And also on the schedule, if I decide that I want to change this to a work in progress to done, then it will go into stock and then those products will become available. So on the sales page, where this order is at for Mark, you'll see that the production is a work in progress. There's sales order number 1 for 3 pieces. that has already been completed. And then we also have manufacturing order number 2, which is still currently live. If you need more additional information, you would open up the sales order and look closely at the fact that the black ones are done, and then this one is currently still in process. And when I open up manufacturing order 2 and mark it as complete, then marked sales order is also now marked as in stock, processed, and done. I can then pack it up so it's ready to ship, and then whenever I ship it, I can mark it as delivered. Then it goes into my done section. And that is pretty much how Katana works. Everything all together, coming and culminating into a single dashboard that you can use for all of your manufacturing, purchasing, sales, inventory management needs, all into a single platform. If you have any questions about this or how Katana works in general, you can always send us a message right down here from the chat box below, or write us at support@katanamrp.com, and one of our team members will be happy to help you get you started and moving forward in the right direction. Thank you for watching this video. It was a long one, and have a great day and happy manufacturing.